Welcome to a tutorial on how to play HOI4. So, you just bought it. First of all, why? Okay, you just bought HOI4. Let's teach you how to play this in lickety-split time, fellas. So, first things first, DLCs. HOI4 has DLCs. They expand existing focus trees, they add new paths, they add new features. If you have it, great. You can also buy subscriptions or you can buy them individually. Subscriptions are cheaper, I think it's $10 a month. You get access to everything, but you don't own them. So when you stop paying, you stop the DLCs. Okay. So right away, two options. The first one is single player, the second is multiplayer. If you're playing HOI4, you'll be doing a lot of this one. or in my case, maybe this one, maybe. So right away, let's click new game. There are two scenarios right off the bat. The first one is January 1st, 1936, and the second is August 14th, 1939. So in the first scenario, it's sort of January 1st, Hitler has just consolidated power, and it's time to do things, whatever you want to do. On August 14th, 1939, I wouldn't recommend playing this, at least not in your first attempt, because by this point, everything is already set historically. Germany has the war go on Poland. They're going to declare war on Poland and World War II starts. You can play it if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it because if you want a individualized playthrough, I would recommend the first one because there's a lot more time and a lot more different things you can do. Right, so right away while we're here, you have a multitude of difficulties. Civilian is going to be the one that you should be playing early on because it gives you political power, makes your units take less supply, you produce more things quickly. Basically, it's a lot easier. And then obviously, as you get more comfortable with the game, I would recommend upping the difficulty, so it's a lot harder. So let's say that you heeded my advice and you're playing Germany in 1936, which you should do. You can see right away that there is the big dogs up here and a bunch of smaller guys down there. So the countries on the bottom are minor countries. That's not saying that they can't get as powerful as the countries on the top. They can, but you need a lot of work. And some of the countries are locked behind DLCs. Well, you can play as them, but if you don't have a DLC and you play as, let's say, Afghanistan, you're just going to have a basic tree, and there's nothing really too unique about it that you could do, right? So, Paradox, HOI4 is a game that's World War II, so obviously most of the focus is going to be on the big dogs, right? France, America, the UK, Germany, Italy, Japan, and Russia. Those are the big dogs, right? Those are the big fellas. You can play as the other guys, but I don't know why you would want to do that to yourself. No, it's great. So let's say you pick Germany. Let's say you pick civilian difficulty because it's your first time playing. You don't know too much. You want to dip your feet in the water before you jump in, right? So it's gonna look like this. And I know it looks overwhelming, but I promise you, once you really understand what's going on, it's not gonna be that difficult. So the first thing that we have to talk about is political power. Political power up here. If you move your cursor to the top, it'll tell you exactly how much you're producing, and if any stats, like having Mr. Himmler, gives me 10% more political power, and the difficulty gives me 50% more, and my stability gives me 6%. So political power is going to allow you to do a lot of things. So let's sort of run down what you can do with political power. You can change conscription, so your troops will die. In battle, people are going to die, and you need people to replace those guys, and that's all manpower is, right? And you need more manpower if you are fighting bigger battles, obviously, because more men are dying proportionally. So you can do that using political power. Sometimes it'll have debuffs, so if you want to up, for example, the conscription law, it's going to make your units, when you produce them, take 10% longer. Sometimes you need war support, and sometimes it'll depend on other factors, right? Maybe you have a special bonus or national spirit that forces you to not have an army like Austria does. So let's look at national spirits. All national spirits are the things that sort of impact your country. They're unique to your country. So Germany has bitter loser. So they lost World War I. They lost World War I historically, meaning that for some reason, what that does to Germany is it makes it where people who are fascist are less likely to leave fascism, 50% less likely to leave fascism, right? And it only applies to the main ideology, so in this case, fascism, since this guy's in charge. They also have this, not too important for Germany, and a bunch of other national stuff. Be better division organization. They will take more supply, more planning speed, whatever, right? You can also mobilize more, more of your economy, and you can appoint people. Now this is important because political power allows you to appoint guys who have different effects on your country, right? Some of them will give you, depends if you have the DLCs or not, but some of them will, for example, give you more political power, or stability, or research speed, or allow you to construct things quicker. It really depends on who you're appointing. So really read and really, think about what you're doing. You can also add Chiefs of Army, which will provide you military XP, which we'll talk about later. Same thing goes for the Navy and the Air Force. And then obviously you have military fellows, which will, give you less attrition or more organization or recovery rate. Again, it depends on the dude. So that's very important. Let's go jump straight into the national focus. So thankfully, the Paradox Gods have separated the focus into a couple of main things. You have the political tree, which is right here. This allows you to, this is the meat of the game, right? If you want to go French communist route, you can do that, and you would do it through here, right? You can scroll down, and each thing will tell you what it's going to do to your country, right? If you invite communist ministers, wow, I can imagine what this does, right? Yeah, you go down this route, and you can do this. An important thing to note is that you can't do everything. If you commit to the communist, the leftist route, you can't do the nationalist route. If you commit to the nationalist, you can't do the communist route. It's very important. You have to commit to something, so really think about what you're doing and what you want to do, right? Make sure you read. Reading, what? And it'll kind of tell you. You also have the air tree, the naval tree. If you want a bigger Air Force, research the Air Force. You'll get air bases, research fellas, or naval dockyards, and we'll talk about all that in a minute. Same thing with the industry. You'll get, if you research military industry, you'll get more factories, right? It really depends on the focus, and you can't do all of it, again, like I mentioned before, but it really depends, right? If you want a bigger industry, research industry. If you want a bigger Air Force, Navy, or if you just want to do political stuff, do the main tree. Right, so now that we're done talking about political power, stability, war support, and manpower, let's talk about researching. We'll go down the route like this because, let's sort of sort you out. So researching. All researching is it allows you new things, right? So I'll be talking as if I didn't have the DOC, but it is 1939, or 1936, sorry, and here is written down everything that was historically achieved in that era, right? So it's 1936. I could theoretically research something in 1938, but it would cost more, right? Because it is 2 years ahead of its time, there is going to be a bigger time penalty, right? Or you could just research something that is within your era and it's a lot quicker, right? So I recommend doing that first, obviously, because you can research more instead of committing to one big thing. Of course, it's situational. Maybe if you have an extra research slot and you don't have anything to do, maybe. But otherwise, I'd recommend that you just research things within your era, right? Unless you get a bonus. So sometimes your focus tree can provide you with bonuses that makes things, makes certain things researched quicker, right? So let's go back to the flag. Or you can click Q, really depends. Let's say I go to the Air Force tree, right? Let's do France as an example to make it quicker. By researching Air Force, I get air bases in the first focus. On the second bonus, I can either get a fighter focus or a bomber focus. If I do fighters, it's going to allow me to research one thing that's fighter related 100 times quicker, right? So it's a big speed boost. So it's important, right? Make sure you're reading whatever your make sure you're reading whatever your focus is. That way you can benefit from it, right? So let's say I want fighters, right? I'll research things that are fighter related, and I'll do focuses that allow me to get fighter bonuses, right? So not only will my fighters maybe be able to get stronger from focuses, but I'll be able to research models quicker, right? You get 4, and of course, things that you set up in political power can affect how quickly you research things. Tanks, unless you have the DOC, this isn't really important. If you have the DOC, basically all you need to know is, if you research things, you research their base tanks, right? If you don't have the DOC, you just research it and you're good to produce. If you have the DOC, you will have to either research the template itself, so the 1939 tank, or you'll have to research, and then you'll have to research individual parts of the tank, so maybe a bigger gun, or bigger cannon, or an assault gun, or whatever, right? That's how it works. The best way to look at this is the naval tree. If you research, I have the DLC, so if I research this, I'll only get this and nothing on it. I'll get the engine, which is pretty cool. But then I'll have to go here and research individual naval stuff, and I'll be able to, either upgrade things, or I'll be able to get like a better cannon, or ship modules basically. Think about it like You have one toy, which you can add a bunch of things to the toy upgrades, right? You could just have the base toy with like whatever you have on hand, but you should research things to add to it that are better. And it's kind of the same for the tanks, the Air Force, and infantry, or yeah, tanks, airplanes, and ships. You can add different things and they buff it in different ways. That's kind of it, right? So now that's out of the way. Construction, right? This is how you get things, right? So there are two things that you should be constructing first and foremost. The first one is civilian factories. Civilian factories allow you to construct things, right? The more you have of these, the more that you're able, the more that you're going to be able to construct. So on the top right here, it'll sort of tell you how many factories you have on hand. So Germany starts off with 35, which is a really good amount, right? And it'll tell you where that 35 is going. So you can see right here that I have all 35 in use, but I'm only using 20, right? And that's because some of your factories are going to be taken away for consumer goods, right? In every state, some factories are not going to be used. Not all the factories are going to be on, government control. Some factories are going to be used to, in the real world anyway, it's going to be used to produce cars or electronics or whatever, right? That's all consumer goods means, is that some of your factories are not in your control and they're being used to give the civilian population things, right? If you want to lower that, you have to use your political power, like I mentioned before, and go to economic law. And you're going to be able to sort of up the amount of factories that are under your direct control, and you can sort of read how much political power it's going to cost and what you need to do it, right? So now that you have a decent understanding of civilian factories, you need to also build military factories. Military factories are going to allow you to build things like rifles, artillery, tanks, and naval dockyards work in the same way. It allows you to build anything ship related, so convoys and warships. Let's talk about infantry or army things to produce. So military factories are going to be able to produce basically anything infantry related and air related. It'll sort of tell you how much it'll be able to build. So if you hover over and you have free factories, it'll tell you how much it's going to be able to produce instantly with the bonus of those factories. But it's going to, the amount that you're going to be able to produce is going to increase, right? So you see this red thing, right? It means that the factories aren't working in perfect efficiency. It's going to be going up slowly, and you're going to be able to produce more, right? Pretty sweet. Same thing works for everything else. It'll tell you how much it's going to be able to produce just with the influx of factories, but the red thing does mean, again, it's not working at full efficiency. Same thing for everything. And your next question is, what do I do with this? Click I. Logistics. Amazing. Logistics are basically just tells you what you need, right? So let's say you have an infantry division template. I'll show you how to make those in just a second. It'll basically allow you to see what you need more of, right? So the wrench is what you are producing, and the hand is what you need, right? Don't let this disguise vulnerabilities, right? What do I mean by that? Well, if you know you're going to go on an offensive, which I'll show you to do in just a minute, if you know if you're going to go to war, then I recommend having things in stockpile, which was sort of seen by this, right? This is how much you have in storage, right? Because obviously, like supply and demand, if there's a higher demand for rifles, artillery, which is lost streak battles, then you are going to need more, right? If the demand for weaponry goes up but your supply doesn't match it, or you don't have enough in your storage to replenish what you've lost, even if you aren't producing enough, your troops are going to be less effective because they don't have rifles, they don't have artillery, they don't have whatever they need, right? Keep this in mind, obviously. Brilliant stuff, right? And again, it'll also show you what you need more of, right? Sometimes your factories, they need resources, and so it'll sort of tell you if you need more. If you need more, go to trade, click R, go to whatever you need, click here, and it'll auto put whatever you need. If you want to buy more for some reason, you can, but I recommend just click this set thing. It'll buy exactly what you need, but it does cost a civilian factory, so keep that in mind. Sometimes it's easier or better to commit to your civilian factories since you have a limited amount to just construction, build more civilian factories, and then buy whatever you need. But again, it's up to you, right? It depends whatever situation you're in. I don't know. Yeah, so here, all this tells you is what you aren't producing that you have that needs to be reinforced. Every country starts off with some fighters, some don't, but majority start off with fighters. They start off with things, right? And sometimes you aren't producing enough to replenish what you have in stockpiles, and that's all that is. Hover over it and it'll tell you. I already explained that. So divisions. Dun, 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 dun. There are different types of divisions. So you have the basic infantry, you have tank, you have motorized, mechanized. Sounds like a lot, but let me explain, right? These divisions are custom made, right? You can follow the meta, or you can do whatever you want. It really depends on what you want to do, right? So you have this. Wow, this looks complicated, but let me let me explain real quick. Let me calm you down. Calm down. Put a finger on your lip. Here's all you need to know. The only things that you should be looking at are organization, combat with, soft attack, and hard attack. So organization, all that is how long your army is able to fight before having to stop fighting, basically, right? So when you fight another enemy, basically it's sort of an Excel sort of battle, right? Because it's stat versus stat under the veneer of a battle. If you're fighting another opponent, you're fighting another enemy, they have a better organization and they hit harder, your organization is going to go lower before theirs does, and you'll lose the battle, right? It'll also tell you, so you need to make sure that this is high. So some templates that are pretty good, you have something called let me add some XP to myself so I can kind of show you. You have something called a 7-2. What is a 7-2? 7-2 is just infantry with 2 artillery, right? This is really good. It has really good soft attack, really good hard attack, decent organization, and decent combat with. The basic point of this division is to sort of be cheap, right? Not every country is like Germany. Not every country is able to produce giant troops. And so, yeah. Thankfully, it has an equipment cost as well, so you'll be able to see how much fuel it's using if you have any sort of tanks in it. Decent infantry equipment, and how much infantry equipment it's going to use, how much manpower is it going to use, and how much support equipment it needs, right? So sort of make a division template. You could follow the meta, but I recommend, honestly, make your own division template. It's not going to be the best, right? But sort of make it as to what you need and what you want your troops to do. Maybe you want cavalry, maybe you want support anti-air because you're not going to have airplanes. Maybe you want quicker troops, maybe you want stronger troops, whatever you want. It's really whatever you desire. If you want different things to put in here, you have to research them, right? So let me give you an example. If I wanted to mechanize troops, I would have to research mobile infantry. If I wanted, troops that are, special designed to mountain fighting, or paratroopers, or people who are really good at fighting in the forest, rangers, marines, right? And then you can put them in your division template, and you can make custom templates, right? If you want tanks, research tanks and pop them in here, right? If you want a tank only division template, you can do that. Pop some motorized in there, you're good to go, right? But everything that goes here will be explained here. You should focus on organization. Make sure organization, soft and hard attack, and combat with are as high as possible and tailored to your needs, right? You can also set, now that we're in recruit and deploy, which is the shortcut for that is you can sort of prioritize where your things go, right? You have limited resources and you can sort of prioritize where they go, right? If you update a division template, do you want the priority to be for those requests to be filled, for the upgrades or the downgrades to be fulfilled? What about supply, right? So whatever you want, but it's basically custom tailored to whatever you want, all right? Now let us start with this, the meat of the game, right? You can so to drag all your guys into an army group, drag your cursor holding left click, and bada bing bada boom, they're all highlighted, right? Now click the plus and you'll have an army group, or an army. So an army is led by a general, and again, this is why HOI4 is such a good game. It's completely tailored to whatever you want. Each general has a level, has sort of different attributes personally, and different skills regarding, either supply, planning, defense, or attack. So if your army is going to be under attack, right, you're going to be invaded by Germany or Russia, then in that case you would find a general that's really good at defense, decent at attack, decent supply, decent planning, and he's your general, right? So generals can only hold commonly 24 divisions. Some can hold more, some can hold less, but it's sort of the number. The more divisions that it has that it can't control, it will have a penalty. So your general will be less effective. So basically make sure that you have enough generals, right? Now if you have a bunch of armies, right, that's kind of confusing to control. So you have something called a field marshal, right? A army group. It's comprised of multiple armies, and the concept is basically the same as the army, but one level up, right? You have a field marshal, and you can promote different generals, here, right? It does cost command power, but you gain that slowly, right? And bada bing bada boom, you have an army full of generals, right? So now you would click Z, or you can move your cursor down here and click front line, right? So you can either drag it, you can either drag the line like so, which will sort of, it kind of looks like this, right? Well, it does look like this. You'll be able to see the different colors represent the different armies, right? So Army Group 1, which is the bigger army, holds more of the front because of the fact that it has bigger divisions, it has more divisions, right? Then Army Group 1, which is a smaller army, which holds less divisions, so it can't hold as much territory. And if you don't want to look at that sort of that on such a micro level, just shift click and it'll just be giant, right? Give it some times and your army, your troops will automatically move there, and if they don't, click Control plus, and they'll move there by force, right? And here you have your officer corps. Now this depends if you have the DOC or not. If you do, just upgrade again depending on what you need. You do need military XP, which you can get in a number of ways. The most popular of which is to simply just go here, go to your click queue, go to your flag, and just put someone in charge. Everybody who can be a chief of army is going to provide military XP, and they also provide some other benefits. So make sure you pick a dude that you actually care or like about, And yeah, you can also have some secondary military high commands, which bring their own stats individually. And if you have the DOC, can't forget which one, you can obviously add, maybe you want your guys to have a higher chance of getting higher levels than that one, or defense, or whatever you want. Land doctrines basically work the same way. You pick a certain style of warfare that you like, right? Some of them prioritize artillery, some of them prioritize, speed, some prioritize planning, some prioritize pure bodies, right? It depends entirely on what your style is, right? Make sure you pick one that's tailored to you, right? And then obviously, how do you fight, right? So you have your front line. Now you have to click X. This is your offensive line. It is the plan that your troops are going to follow, and if you want to see what it looks like on paper, simply hover over it, and it'll tell you exactly what the mission is going to look like, right? My guys are going to march forward, and they're going to stop exactly there, right? It's just going to tell you how it's going to work, what it's going to look like, right? And you can make them in a number of ways. But yeah, that's sort of the thing. Then you click plus, and the plan is active, and they will commit to it, and they'll begin their advances. So the green bubbles mean you're winning, the red mean you're losing, and if your troops, I'll show you, if your troop loses, what it'll do is it'll fall back, right? And then more troops, your general will automatically get troops to cover that line. Or maybe if it's, let's say that Poland is, I'm at war with Poland, Poland is attacking me here in, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. They're attacking me here in Konigsberg, right? Or the Lithuanians. If they're beating me, what it'll mean is that they'll get pushed back, and then they'll march forward, right? And then my troops are going to be at a disadvantage because they were just defeated. They're going to try to reorg, and that might end well, might not end well. That's why organization is so important. Make sure your troops are supplied. Supply? How do I check if they're supplied? Click F4. So, you can construct way more things than civilian and military factories. Well, that is what you should be focused on. You can produce way more, right? You can build infrastructure, which basically allows you to, gives you more fuel capacity. So you can hold more fuel, which you can kind of see up here. It tells you how much fuel you have, how much you gain, how much you waste, yada yada. And fuel is important because it powers tanks and ships. So you might have to import fuel on the trade menu, or you might be fine. Or you might have to ration fuel. It really depends on your style, of course. And you can build railways to manage your supply situation, right? Let's say I was in the heart of Russia, right? I just took Moscow, whatever, right? And I'm up here. These railroads are awful. There is no supply up north. It is genuinely a barren wasteland, right? So what you could do is you could upgrade the infrastructure yourself, right? If you build railways, you'll be able to not only use them, right? So let's have a competition, right? Let's have these two here move to Settleton. So railways work in two ways. The first of which, if I move you here, the first of which is to, let's have them race to Dortmund, right? The first of which is if you go up here and you need your troops there quickly, you can do something called strategic reemployment, which will get them to utilize the railroad system, right? So let's have a race. Not even close. It's not even close. Yeah, it's not even close. This guy with the railweights is way faster, but he starts off deorganized, right? So he will be defeated. That's why strategic redeployment is risky. Because if you send troops over quickly, they will not be as organized, and they'll be more prone to losing right away, versus this guy who's completely organized. So it's all situational. You can use the railways as a way to transport troops, or as a way to just supply your units, right? Just because you have a bunch of, just because you have things in storage, and you can afford to give them to your troops, doesn't mean it's going to get to them. You have to do it via railway, which is interesting, right? So the purple spots sort of mean that there is sort of dead spots within the system. So you have to build either supply hubs, which start off, they give out supply, basically is all it is. Or you can upgrade rail, which makes it quicker, and just move and just connect that to dead spots. I mean, it's really up to whatever you want to do, right? You can also build synthetic refineries, which you have to research if you're not already starting off with them. And that'll allow you basically just to give you free resources, right? Because Germany specifically, after the war starts, suffers from a major lack of rubber. And you can either build it synthetically, or you can invade somebody with rubber. I mean, it's whatever you want to do, right? And that is how to play HOI4. Hope you enjoy yourself. Some of your focuses will give you the ability to declare war. Some focuses need other things to happen, right? Quick little example. Let's say I want to go the monarchist route. Maybe I need to up monarchist support, which I can do in the decisions menu with my political power, right? If I want to lose support, I can do that. If I want to ban communism, I can do that. If I don't, I have the option not to. With that being said, I hope you enjoy your HOI4 experience.